Tip.
Welcome to
On the Chain.
Here, this is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What's going on, Chip? What's going on, everybody out there in the On the Chain community, On the Chain world? Flatliner streams on a plane, just in case anybody was interested. If you're not in the chat, that's what's going on. And he's trying to get onto a plane. All sorts of great things happening, Chip. You know what? You know what?
What else
going on? and the other thing. Thank you and good night. No, XRP's a big year, Chip. It's been a massive year for XRP so far. Massive year for crypto. Massive year for freedom. Massive year for putting everything right and back on track for winning. If you go back a couple of years ago, there was a massive warning that came out by Margaret Thatcher. We're going to play that warning from Margaret Thatcher. El Salvador and the global power struggle. What's that all about? What is El Salvador up to? And how do they factor into the winning? We're going to talk about that and a lot more. So if you're ready to kick this thing off.
I'm ready.
I'm
trying to find the buttons, Jeff. I was like, for some reason, everything's miscombobbled over here. Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Drop where you're coming in from, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Drop where you're coming in from. City, state, country, wherever. Neighborhood, we don't care. Just drop it in wherever you're coming in from.
Neighborhood, fictitious.
Sure. G'day, lurkers. G'day.
Drop where you'd like to be.
Says Chad. Beautiful.
It's always funny when you see, you've got flatline streamers communicating and then Crypto Whelp is here, but it's the same person. He's having a conversation with himself. It's like, and we still haven't left yet. Sorry for the caps.
Don't be yelling. Don't be screaming. Yeti. Speaking of Yeti, I got to get that up. Justin Harrison won last time. Who's going to be tonight? Who is going to be the one to win? Who is going to be the hippie
freak?
Damn. Long haired hippie freak. It just keeps getting longer, Jeff. It just keeps growing out of control. It's insane. It's out of control.
It was funny when I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, maybe 8 years old. I remember my grandfather came to visit, and my hair was probably not quite as long as yours at that point, but pretty close to it, long. And my grandfather came into the house, and first thing he said to my mom was, "I'm taking the boy to get a real man's haircut."
Boys get a haircut. That ain't gonna stand here.
And that was it. And think about back in those days. My mother was a vegetarian way back then. And guess where he brought me for, we came back from getting a haircut. Not only was it a buzz cut, but he brings me to McDonald's. So I came back with a Happy Meal. I mean, it was like, I thought my mother was going to lose it on all sorts of levels.
She was not prepared. In so many ways, she was not prepared.
that was so great. That was awesome. Funny. Man, that's like, that established and galvanized my conservative base back then. So
yeah, well, there you have it, my man. There you have it. It is something special. There's Crypto been she's been phenomenal in covering so many interesting things going on with Ripple. Thank God she does the research, so we don't have to, Jeff. I always say that, so we can just show what she's up to.
It's great. It's so great when you can just
But Ripple applied for a new trademark: downloadable software for custody of cryptocurrency, fiat, virtual currency, digital currency, downloadable software for transmission and storage of crypto, fiat currency, virtual. And so, what's interesting about this is I wonder, when you think about the custody side, Ripple custody side of things, trademarking. So trademark, very different than a patent. So Ripple custody, they talks about financial services. So this is their, they're on the custody side of the house. Interesting to think what this might be, but it sounds like to me it's just more like a storage custody thing. Trademarking Ripple custody. That's all it is, really.
I think it's important.
It's not a patent, but it is
not a patent. It's a trademark. But it's an important trademark because they don't want anybody infringing on their use of terminology. So, I think right off the bat, and maybe there's some, Ripple mentioned somewhere out there in the ecosystem someplace, but man, so this was as of what, almost not quite a month ago, about 3 weeks ago, February 25th. So it's fresh, and you've got some of the class codes going on over there. We know what it's like, when you got to go through a trademarking process.
We have a trademark for On the Chain, don't we, Jeff?
We do have a trademark for On the Chain, and it was quite a process. Yeah. Going through that,
major pain in the ass is what it was when it comes down to it is all what it came down to. So she also posted this script already. Said, "Are you with me? 2025, the year of XRP Fi. Soil Farm joins forces with Ripple through the XRPL launch program." She wrote a tiny thread, and that's it. That's the end of Tiny Thread.
It's over. End of Tiny Thread.
I was like,
"That's an image.
It's over." But this is what she was linking out to here. Soil Farm joins with Ripple through the XRPL launch program, pioneering compliant yield on the XRP ledger. It's almost like we can't keep up with all the good stuff and people that are like assembling into DeFi. It's incredible when you think about it. So I'd never even heard of Soil before, but
no.
In a groundbreaking move, they're basically announcing the partnership with Ripple through the XRPL launch program, powered by DIFC. This partnership represents more than an alliance. Pivotal step in revolution DeFi, tokenization, real world assets. Like that seems to be the norm these days. That's all we hear about is tokenization, real world assets, DeFi. And so with Soil now being part of Ripple's ecosystem, the future of compliant, risk optimized, and high yield DeFi lending officially started to take shape on the XRP ledger. They go into what is Ripple, but the power of the XRPL, and then this is the good stuff right here. Soil Farm and XRPL, first fully compliant yield platform on the XRP ledger. Cool. Soil Farm is pioneering a new era of risk optimized. I love that word. Real world integrated DeFi lending. Traditional DeFi lending models often struggle with high volatility from the crypto native lending, the lack of regulatory clarity, obviously making institutional adoption very difficult, and unsustainable yields with no backing. Soil is very different. Real world asset backing. Every loan on Soil is collateralized by real world business with proven financials. Risk optimized lending, built-in mechanisms to minimize DeFi risks, ensuring sustainability and transparency. And also institutional compliance, a regulatory first approach that bridges traditional finance, TradeFi, with DeFi seamlessly. So integrated in the XRPL, Soil is bridging the gap between traditional finance, DeFi, unlocking new frontiers of compliant and secure yield generation. Yeah. So what does this mean for Soil? A couple of things. Grant funding. Soil receives direct funding to accelerate its expansion and innovation, access to Web3 leaders and venture capitalists, exclusive networking with top-tier Web3 investors, legal experts, and blockchain pioneers, strategic growth opportunities, a direct on-ramp onto Ripple's global financial ecosystem, and finally, integration with institutional DeFi, bridging traditional financial markets into DeFi. So got to keep our eye on this. This is great stuff as usual. It's amazing that this stuff's coming into play. Again, more DeFi, more TradeFi, more everything. What do you got going on here? What's this all about?
This is it. Let's hear from the guys. Quick introduction.
Oh, nice.
Look at this.
Hi, I'm Mike, CMO. Welcome to Soil, where decentralized finance gets a powerful upgrade. We are here to show you what's new, what's next, and why Soil is set to transform how you interact with DeFi.
Hi, I'm Nick, the CIO. From blockchain expansion to liquid stake, Soil introduces new features that offer greater value, more flexibility, and longer-term growth for our users.
Let's dive into the key innovation that we have built into the new version of the protocol. The new version of the protocol is all about the growth. We have expanded to the new blockchain. After launching on the Polygon, Soil soon will be also available on the Ethereum and other EVM-compatible chains.
And we're not stopping there. We're exploring grant programs to deploy Soil on emerging blockchains with huge development potential. This is just the beginning.
To meet the needs of investors who value flexibility and instant access to their funds, we are introducing evergreen short-term pools. No more locking up your capital for long-term periods.
That means that investors can now generate attractive yields on the stablecoins without sacrificing liquidity. It's a DeFi on your terms.
With the new version of the protocol, we've enhanced your tokenomics. From now on, all pool rewards will be paid exclusively in stablecoins.
By eliminating rewards paid in soil tokens, we are cutting inflation and making soil even more scarce.
But holding soil tokens still gives you more, higher yields, and stake in the long-term growth of the protocol.
To show our commitment, we've relogged 100% of company-controlled tokens for an additional 2 years.
I think it's interesting, when you get into it, they kind of go through. You guys could go check it out, soil.co. Go check out what these guys are all about. Look at their assets, and there's Ripple right there. Here's all the groups that are getting behind them and trust them. And here's their, the team. You got introduced to the team a little bit. You can get into how it works, as they're using stable coins and earning interest, and you're lending your stable coins, you're an interest on your stable coin. It's an interesting time that we're moving into, to be able to leverage a stable coin for interest earns. Because think about the other platforms when you lock up a digital asset, and you lock up your digital asset and it's going up and down. So even if you're earning interest on it, once you lock it up, now you have to go and try to stable from the get-go. So there's only a net positive coming out of this. I like how they're providing liquidity, Chip. I like how they're getting yield back. I like how they're investing in real world asset. They're really figuring things out. Not sure if this is available in the US, but I'm not sure if they're in the US.
Check this. Its all-time high was $3.97, and the low was 9 cents roughly. Now it's trading basically 95% of the peak and 109% above the lowest price. Right now it's trading at just 20 cents. So there you go, 20 cents for soil. So maybe it seems undervalued given the fact that it was had a pretty nice high at one point. So, but interesting. It's of course too, being on multiple chains, being on Ethereum. I think they mentioned, what was the other one? Polkadot? Was it Polkadot or Solana? I don't know, one of the ones they
Solana,
Polygon.
Solana.
Maybe it was Polygon. Yeah, that they mentioned.
Polygon is on the website.
So that's all. Yeah, Polygon. There it is. Uniswap Polygon. So that's what it is. So they're going multi-chain, which is also a good thing too for the ecosystem. So interesting, it's just fun and interesting to watch. It's cool that get more XRP all getting more stuff. Always a good thing, never a bad thing.
Lloyd is saying, getting paid profits by the day would be great for these liquidity pools. We're going to be working that fast, being that it's Web3. Just saying, it's great. It's daily engagement. This is changing the dynamic, especially with the leveraging things that are shifting over in Japan right now. Some of the things that they're allowing, some of the regulatory framework that they just passed through, things are going to start happening at warp speed. Plus, we have an amazing, freedom-loving administration that wants to see everybody prosper, which is a little bit different than.
Like, say, my bank's ready to go forward, where they're not aware of what was going on until I made sure, except crypto. That was 2 years ago, but now that today they're waiting on some legal stuff. So yeah, there's going to be, guys, type in Yeti. We got 3 entries so far. Pitiful. 3 entries. Come on, man. Come on, man.
And come on, man. Thing.
Sistine Research put this post up on X. Timeline has been pretty quiet on this, but XRP is now the second largest cryptocurrency. And before the comments say it's FDV only, literally every asset in the world goes by FDV, not circulating. If it's only crypto, for that some odd reason, is obsessed with the circulating float. And these guys put out market research, so you can basically throw your email in there and you could basically find, a bunch of stuff here. So XRP research, Metaplex report, XRP investment theses, blah, 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 blah. So you can get a bunch of stuff in your inbox. Very cool. Very cool indeed.
Very cool stuff happening in the ecosystem. It is ecosystem friendly, XRPL friendly, and the world is moving forward at lightning speed. Let's call it.
And Jim D, how cool was it hanging out with Jim D last weekend? How cool. And Chad
Yeah.
Nauseum. I mean,
Considering that, you know, he had long hair like you. So
he did have long hair. You let the cat out of the bag, man. Man. We're supposed to keep that a secret. I hope you don't mind that, Jim D, but
what, the long hair?
yeah, we're supposed to keep that under wraps, Jeff.
Oh, we didn't show a picture.
Well, we're not doxing people, Jeff. That's not our thing. We're not going to dox anybody here. No, hell no.
Yeah,
Mystery girl, check it in. Hello, mystery girl's here, so we can begin. He said it's okay. Good. Yeah, Jim D's a cool dude, man. A cool dude. It's everything you'd expect and more. Meeting in person, having great, amazing conversation, and maybe we will get him to come on the show. Maybe we'll get him to come on.
That'd be awesome.
Not show his face, but
plus he picked a great restaurant.
Yeah, we had great
unexpected
food.
Because it was when you go into a Publix Plaza, never know what you're going to get. This place, the seafood was amazing. Got the salmon, and you go to places and you know sometimes you just don't know what to expect. As soon as they ask you what temperature you want the salmon, you know it's going to be amazing. And these guys cooked it to perfection.
Yeah, I had the crab cakes and they were delicious.
God, so good.
Yeah. So Jim D knows the landscape. He knew how to pick a great restaurant, great conversation. And of course, the rest of the weekend we hung out with Chad Nauseum, which is even cooler. We had dinner, I think, last Saturday night, which was awesome. Hung out and got to hang and just chill, have conversations, have a good laugh. I mean, it was a lot of fun, man. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it quite a bit. Yetai. Yeah, we're gonna jump into the whole
Talk about some of the stuff going on in the community.
Talk about
Linqto. Talk about that. I didn't see this, Chip. Did you see any news on Flare stablecoin?
I've not seen any news on that. No, I've seen a bunch of news on Flare, but not on the stablecoin proper. But interestingly enough, we'll see.
We missed the karaoke.
I know we missed karaoke. Man, I can't believe we missed karaoke. Well, Jeff and I had to get back. That was the whole thing. It's like I had to get back home. I had like important meetings on Monday morning. I wanted to stay later, but I'm hoping you had a great time with the karaoke side of it.
Man, I'll tell you what, I made it home in time, and it was obviously light now till 7:30. I was able to get the cars washed when I got home. That was my highlight.
Perfect cap right there. Look at this right here.
Up.
Visual Vendetta, beautiful. Thank you for the 589. That's symbolic in a lot of ways right there. 589, baby. 589. Appreciate that. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, we missed the karaoke. That would have been fun. I would have enjoyed that quite a bit, but it happens. Panos put this out. XRP is an improved version of money, a decentralized, deflationary, super efficient store of value and medium of exchange, the pioneer of decentralized finance. Never so much has been said with so few words to sum up XRP perfectly in a sentence. I love that. Panos has been one of the most treasured people. We had him here on the show too. It was great to have him on the show, but you know, a builder in the space, but also basically somebody that destroys a lot of the FUD, a lot of the garbage stuff going around there. He's been outspoken. He's been blocked. He's been criticized up and down, but he's one of the good guys. He's one of the guys that understands the tech, understands how to defend it. And I put him up against anybody in the community because he just will rip them a new one, Jeff. I mean, he's that strong.
Yeah. So I'm just glad he's out there doing his thing, posting his posts. You know, the guy puts a lot of thought behind his commentary that he puts up onto X. And so, you know, there's some really key things that we'll be covering here in the chat today. I want to get people fired up. I got to take a little break, a little commercial break. I'm going to throw this up here.
Jeff,
want to get you guys fired up. So here we go.
Let's go.
What's the word of the day? Yeti. Boom. Pictures on my wall already, because this one's gonna be epic. Get ready to claim your own legendary blue giant Yeti of the clan, spirit walkers. His name is Gold Far. Let's go!
His name is Skoldsfar.
Skoldsfar.
You needed just that one frame, and you just like focus in on that one frame.
That one
Skolds
word.
his name is
Mr. Skolds.
Skoldsfar.
His name is Skoldfar.
Yeah, so someone's going to win Skoldsfar tonight. It's going to be part of their permanent NFT Badass Yeti collection. That is going to be special indeed. We're building an army. We're building a tribe. We are building. Look at that right there. Bam.
There it is.
What's the name?
Skoldfar.
Skoldsfar, bitches. That's what it is.
There he is. Guys kick ass right there. All right.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah, that's what you
Let's
get.
dive into this.
Look at this. Justin gave the Yeti he won yesterday to his girlfriend, and it's her first ever
Holy cow,
NFT.
Justin.
That's
What
really cool.
What an amazing act of kindness right there. What did she
That's
think?
very cool.
Did she love it? She got the frost beard, man. It's very,
Right. Got the frost.
very cool indeed. That means Justin is NFT list right now, man, because he's with that kind gesture right there, which means he's, you know, he goes back on the drawing. Who knows? Lightning can strike twice. Maybe he wins another one. Maybe he wins Skoldsfar. We'll see.
That's right.
We'll see what happens. Crypto Web says, I want to cheat now. I love it. Gotta love it, man. That is so cool, man. You gave it to your girlfriend. Nice. Very cool. And it's her very first one. How symbolic is that? Your first NFT is a Frostbeard from the Blue Tribe Badass Yetis. Very cool indeed, man. Love that. Love that story.
So Fingerflex XRP wants to know how you can win. There's two ways you can win. Well, there's only one way you can win.
There's only one way, Jeff. I was like,
But
what's the
there's
second
two
one?
things that you need to do in order to win. Well, three things.
You gotta
Number
type in
one,
that right there,
you gotta
Yeti.
type that. You gotta type in Yeti. Number two, you got to get your Zaman wallet ready.
Yeah.
And number three, if you do win, you have to say you're here, and you got to be prompt with the response and be like, "Hey, I've got my Zaman wallet." Boom, there's your Zaman wallet address, and we transfer the bad boy over to you.
That's how it works right there. So now we've got 15. So you have a 1 in 15 chance that could grow, but a 1 in 15 chance to 1 in 16. See, people are typing in Yeti. You only have to type it once. If you could type it 10 times, it's only going to take your one time you typed it. So don't get excited. Don't get too excited. It's not like that. It's going to be basically when you type it in once, that'll do the trick. Look at this. Justin says she loved it. I won 1 month ago too. Sorry, so you're good. You both. Which one did you end up getting, Justin? Did you have? Was it a White Tribe one or was it a Blue Tribe one? There was. I'm just curious which one you ended up with, and which, if you remember exactly which clan it was, that'd be cool to know. Just out of curiosity. So this has been kind of like flaming the X universe for a while. Crypto Ready put this out. Finally, get the bad actors out of the space. Linqto has cleaned house. The entire C-suite, including the founder, have been removed. New senior leadership launched several internal investigations into the business operations and regulatory compliance issues, focusing primarily on matters subject to ongoing inquiry from regulators. So they announced a whole brand new team. They're investigating business and regulatory compliance practices. And then two, she said those that stayed quiet after learning about their bad practices and continued to make money with this company should be held responsible too. And
Did you say that learned about their bad practices?
Oh, did you just say that? Did you just say? Did you?
I thought I heard you mean bad practices. Right?
No, you said bad practices. Yeah.
No,
Well, so
bad practices.
Oh wow. So there were some actors out there. You know, she's saying bad actors, but this is the thing. It's like once you learn it went south and you still were promoting it to make money, that's a problem thing. So Panos even joined in too. He said, seeing all the shady stuff going on with Linqto makes me mad and sad. So many people from the XR community fell for it and followed the advice of the top usual XRP influencers and YouTubers. Proves once again my point that these people are only here to take advantage of the community and extract as much value as possible from the ecosystem. I will only say this: hold them accountable, expose them, don't give them any more attention or your precious money. It's time we wake up and say enough. Of course, I had to chime in. I was like, you know, not everyone fell for it. Despite being approached with opportunities to endorse or promote it, Jeff and I chose not to get involved from the onset. Something felt off or questionable to us. And basically, we decided to steer clear of it altogether. Even though we were approached multiple times, we're committed to only endorsing products or ideas that we genuinely believe in or stand behind. So when it comes to our coffee, yeah, we stand behind the coffee. Why? Because we purchase it ourselves. It's our coffee. We drink it. When it comes to the Badass Yetis, yeah, we made it. It's made for the community. You know, it was our vision. We did it. But we always get, man, we get approached all the time to shill this thing and shill that, and you'll make this kind of money. And it's like, it's not right. If it felt like it was something that was right, we would endorse it, sure enough. But we're not going to do something just to be able, you know, make money off the backs of the people that support this show and this community. It's not what we're about, man.
Yeah. Brett wants to know what red flags. I just think, you know, overall, there's things that go on within the community, and I think a little while ago, you know, they were talking about the fact that some of the pre-IPOs were going out to people that weren't necessarily
accredited investors. Yeah,
accredited investors. So there was that. Then they said that wasn't the case. You know, I don't have all the facts or evidence. I'm just saying some of the things that were going on within the community. Lessons learned after the fall of Celsius and some of the turmoils that unfolded within that. Just overall, you know, considering the direction with the SEC, you know, the difficulties from a regulatory compliance perspective, you know, I would, you know, and I would maintain my own personal opinion is to be extremely, extremely conservative at that point after I've seen, you know, multiple entities that went through a collapse. And then, you know, whether or not, you know, people, if it did collapse, are you going to be able to transfer your, you know, stock holdings or not transfer your stock holdings? I don't know. I'm not that close to it, but I'm just saying overall, not to say that you could see that during that period of time to say 100% there was an issue, just looking overall at some of the issues that were taking place within the community at the time. Now, if you were a little bit in, you know, a little bit closer to it and knowing that there were things going on with it, that's a whole different, you know.
Well, also too, the pre-IPO shares they were selling versus another company out there selling a very similar type of a product very differently. There was like a pretty wide margin. It seemed like the price was driving up. There was a lot of marketing behind it. I don't know, man. Something it just didn't feel right. I don't know. I mean, again, if it was something that maybe Jeff and I would have invested in personally, sure enough. I mean, but we can never recommend something that we personally weren't involved with. You can't say like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. I love this drink. It's fantastic. Well, we drink the coffee. We made the coffee. It's our coffee company, right? It's a whole different story than, oh, this is the greatest thing in the world. And like, are you guys part of it? No, not really. It's just like you basically sell it. And I understand, look, there's a lot of pressures. I mean, Jeff and I have often said that with this, we don't want to come out of pocket for this. Yeah, there's enough that just kind of like pays for the software, for the podcast software, for the graphics stuff, for all the things we use to sort of make this work. And then it's just time from Jeff and I, right, to invest into this, you know, to create something. But it's something we love to do. We love to be here, and we love to, you know, it's the live show is what drives it. Otherwise, we're just two guys looking into a laptop, you know, doing videos, whatever. I mean, so it's the whole live version of it. And because we do it live, there's less engagement, there's less subscribers. The subscribers are very low. If we were to upload videos, it drives a lot of subscribers. This doesn't drive subscribers. It just doesn't. We basically lose. But we have the best. We have the best and the brightest in the land. And this is what makes it worth doing it for us. But again, there's ways to make money. But look, sometimes you choose things that just work. Moonchaser put this up, sending thoughts to those in the XRP community who invested in Linqto. Unfortunately, you do not own the shares of whichever company you thought you had bought, but a derivative product. Mm-hmm. Now, while the company says it's still operational, most transactions are on hold, and there are clear risks for investors. The new leadership is trying to stabilize the situation, but the letter to investors doesn't give strong reassurance. Hope all affected and made whole as possible. And this was off of something that David Schwartz had put up. He said a huge problem to buying shares on secondary market is everyone else, the seller, the broker, wants you to pay as high a price as possible. and you're generally not entitled to any real disclosures. This was kind of what I was just talking about a little bit earlier, as I was seeing a variance between one company selling it for this price and this other company with Linqto just kept driving the price up and up. And that felt a little weird too. David says, I strongly suggest anyone thinking of buying shares in secondary markets, at a minimum, some have a source other than their chosen broker for information, such as the number of shares outstanding, and then the price at which these shares have recently been trading on secondary markets. Though I can't specifically recommend any service, Notice.co and Hive.com do provide data on secondary markets. They only report on what they can see, and it's almost certainly better than to have data than not have data. But it also very much helps to compare quotes from multiple brokers. So kind of this was from December of 2024. But again, good advice from David Schwartz, overall. Yeah, so Dark Horse said, not financial advice, but Linqto are given financial advice, even though they're not supposed to. And this was back from November 4th of 24. Of all these accusations given by the former CRO true, Linqto are just another in a long line of bad actors in the space. If you're promoting these guys, and the XRP community may want to revisit your due diligence, unwind your contract, whereas most influencers don't do due diligence. Your soul, you know who you are. So again, there are a lot of critiques well before this actually hit and kind of wound up where it is today.
Yeah, unfortunately, and then we'll see how that all shakes out. We talk, about the YouTuber fanboys, that are out there, and people tend to follow them, and when they get behind and the things that they say, the things that they support, the things that they promote, goes a little bit beyond opinion when they get super hypey and super FOMO or super FUD. And there were some, I remember, early on, and I ended up using and, would still use the platform BitTrue. But if you remember in the beginning that, people were coming out and BitTrue was supporting people behind the scenes. Remember, everyone was hyping up BitTrue, and what did they call them? Ambassadors.
Yeah.
Everybody was a BitTrue ambassador. And I remember we were saying, at that point in time, it's a mistake, that so many people are coming out to be BitTrue ambassadors at that point in time. Nobody really knew anything about them, that you're supporting them. But then just the way it was done, there was something a little bit, not right in terms of how people were promoting it. We had the CEO of BitTrue on. I like using the BitTrue platform. I thought it was super simple, super easy, but there's something in and around that quote unquote ambassador program that just didn't resonate, the right way for us. And we called it out at that time too. And a lot of people, then the program came to an end, because there were some, it just wasn't congruent. There was something that was a little bit off. Not say there was wrongdoing, but it just didn't, the way people were, promoting it, and getting, I don't want to get into that whole conversation again, but Lou, Miss B.
Yeah, BitTrue is.
Yeah. What's that? What were you going to say?
No, I was just saying, Justin was saying he misses BitTrue, which it was a great platform. And then obviously they decided not to do business in the US, and a lot of it had to do with obviously regulation. I think that'll change. I think BitTrue will definitely come back. It was a good platform. We, at the time we had the CEO on here a couple of times. We met Curtis Wang down we met him down at the
Miami.
Bitcoin in Miami. We hang out with him for a little bit. Good dude,
Yeah, I liked him.
Back when he was running the show. I think he's been gone for over 2 years now, maybe 2-3 years. But
I liked him a lot. He was really nice.
He's a good dude. I still touch base with him now and again. I'll hit him up on LinkedIn. Hey, what's up? How you doing? How the kids? He's just a good dude.
So Lou said, I love Uphold, but I question the new yield offering. Something doesn't add up. Man, I think across the board, you have yield offerings on Uphold, on Coinbase, on a lot of the different platforms. My lesson, from, even on Coinbase, you don't really lock it up to where you can lose, whereas on Celsius, I think overall Uphold, Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, these platforms are pretty stable, not going anywhere. But the lessons learned that there's always that possibility. I feel more comfortable working with multiple different platforms, not just putting everything into one. That's me. Some people don't want to use platforms at all, and they want to put everything on a USB thumb drive, or the ledger. Not your keys, not your crypto. I said that a lot, for a long time, and I had everything on ledgers, multiple ledgers, just in case. And then now I prefer to use exchanges. To me, it's easier across different platforms, and it seems to work. But everyone's going to have their different risk tolerance. Doing things that are even more risky, I went against my own principle on that with Celsius. I'm like, oh, you can earn interest, and we had Mashinsky on, and we talked to him, and we looked at his previous company and his history in entrepreneurship. Always on the right side of things. Always did well. Always built, had good exits. Always, built good companies that were solid financially. And then I'm like, okay, let me test it out. Let me put Bitcoin over there. Let me put Ethereum over there. Guess who gets caught up and loses their Ethereum and Bitcoin, that I put over there. So then obviously there was some money that came back from Celsius. They gave us back 60% of whatever the valuation was back then. Then there was another small distribution not that long ago. It was 60 or 70. I forget the exact percentage. At least we got something back. It could have been complete zero,
Right.
and you walk away with nothing.
Yeah.
So at least there was some distribution. But man, I mean, it was brutal, to learn those lessons. Power Piggy on BitTrue is great. I would lock stuff up on the Power Piggy.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Look at Matt LaRose says,
yeah.
glad I was broke and couldn't invest breath. Razoo, even if I wanted to. Yeah. Well, sometimes that happens too. Same strategy. Me bought and held.
Yeah.
So, everybody
my
has
strategy.
Everybody has a different strategy. But, when you have someone like Stefan Tomas, who was the former, chief tech officer before David Schwartz took the helm over there at Ripple, and a guy like this who's smarter than all of us put together, and he happens to choose a cold storage wallet that has 10 tries before it bricks, lost his password. And so he's had a firm for like past 2 years trying to crack it. He's going to split half of the money with them when he recovers his Bitcoin, which is worth like over $300 million at this point. So he still walks away with $150 million. But again, it's to think you're going to be immune from missing a password, something failing, not having the keys written down properly, not having them stored safely. Look, it's human error, man. It's not anything for us as humans that we're going to do everything perfectly, especially when time elapses 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Oh, what happened to that? Oh, I don't know. Or the firmware update. And I've seen so many things go south with people, losing stuff off their ledger, trying to update a software, click on the wrong link, losing everything. Look, there's a lot of things that can happen. That's why when you think about regulated, crypto, exchanges, look, you got to do what's right for you. You got to do what you think is right. Some people spread it around. Some people have it on a ledger. Some people have multiple on exchanges. But nobody wants to be that person that goes like, oh, my family was counting on me. I effed up and everything's gone.
Right. That's the hard
You
part.
don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that gal. You don't want to be that person that and have to live with that, like a Stefan Tomas that has to live with that. A guy who's smarter, that knows better. And it happens, right? So this is where I say, this is where I've said all along that I don't care what you think about banks, but listen, for general populace, for them to think that their crypto would be stored at their bank through an industrial custody solution, the best way. Hey, where's your? Oh, I got mine at my bank. What do you do? Well, I just buy it and send it over there. Oh, okay, so the bank is holding is custodying your crypto. Yeah, like, and if there's some rules around insurance and how you safeguard that crypto, ultimately, you can't expect the general public to be getting ledgers and figuring out how to buy an exchange and send it there. You like when you send it, your heart like skips a beat, like, oh shit, is it there? I haven't got, wait, it's not, okay, now it's there, right? It's like going through that every single time. It's a lot rather than just clicking a button in your banking app and, oh, this moment, all my crypto is just custodied here. And if I want to move it somewhere else, yeah, I can move it with the help of customer support or other people that can help me move it so that I'm not going to make the screw up and have one thing off and it ends up in the ether somewhere and you don't know where that is. So yeah, we got to solve that problem because that's the real problem to solve for a massive adoption.
That's right. So it does, can it be too good to be true? Where does the money come from? So when you're investing, here's the rewards, estimated rewards, 12%, 10%. These are typically calculated APY by the year. It's not a monthly return. It's calculated for an annual return, even though it might be short term. But what exactly are you doing? How are you putting your crypto to work specifically? Why are you staking with them? How are they protecting your investment? Because if you hold USD over on Uphold, they'll pay you 4.5% on the USD as well, which is FDIC backed. But here's how it works. Staking involves locking your crypto into a blockchain to help secure the network and validate transactions while you're earning rewards. So that's kind of the basis of it, and then you could really question, well, how does that work? Right? Who's actually paying that bill? It's like, okay, great. But there are every transaction, there's a cost, there's revenue being generated in those transactions. So if somehow you're locking your crypto and there's a way to secure the network and let them validate and let them, earn, for every transaction that happens on Uphold. But, there's got to be more to it. There's also the way Celsius was doing it was based on some of the short-term lending that they were supposed to be doing within the institutions, and I think that part was interesting. If they're, individual investors that were borrowing, so if you're borrowing money, they're paying interest back. And so if you're the one it gets super convoluted. But I want to see where the institutions, business short-term loans that are being taken out and they're paying back, they're paying bigger interest. So there's opportunities there. If you're securing the networks and the validations and all of that, maybe there's other mechanism that they're putting, through the system. Something we really got to dig into further, because when you look at it, you're like, okay, how does it work? But where does the money come from?
That is the golden question right there. Lou Mira, I love this from Lou. He says, on the chain, a format that's so interactive with the host and the community. It's the best. I don't want to miss an on the chain stream. Yeah, that's great. That's one of the reasons we love doing it, is because you guys drive a lot of what we do here, right? So someone asked a question about, very early on about, hey, how does it work, right? So we dive right into like, hey, how does it work? How does the staking work over on Uphold?
And it's better to look and say, here you go. Uphold staking feature works with blockchains that use proof of stake as a consensus mechanism for validating and processing transactions, creating new blocks in a blockchain. Owners of a crypto asset pledge their coin to a validator through Uphold and its partners as part of this governance process. Once a block is ready to be processed, the crypto asset's proof of stake protocol selects a validator node to verify whether the transactions are accurate, and if so, they add that block to the chain, receiving a reward for their contribution. The chances of a validator being picked differs with each protocol, with some randomization often employed, but chances are increased by the length of time validators have staked their coins and the amount staked. So this is where they get higher reward. Virtually anyone with a minimum balance of supported POS token can validate transactions and get rewards. For doing so, those rewards are credited regularly to your staking account, thereby compounding future rewards. Staking is therefore a great, legitimate way to put your holdings to work for you while supporting the governance function of a blockchain. So I kind of like the notion of what they're working towards when you're staking versus, crypto lending and borrowing and all of that. So is it the same as lending? No, because you're staking, you might lock it up. I know on BitTrue, there were like 30-day lockups, and and then that's how I believe there's a way to release it from the lockup. Then you basically, don't get any of the return at that point. How are they calculated? So I think it's really great, when they really get into it. What is the APY? So again, it is an annual return. So when you look at those, 10, 12%, so make it easy, 12% annually is 1% per month, so you can kind of factor exactly where you're at, on that return. So it's really cool.
Elian Tron says it's steak, not steak, steak, not steak. Waves noodle fingers around. Ooh.
Steak.
Yeah. So
man, look at that in the building.
Late in the building. So I wanted to move on to some other interesting things that are happening here. Nayib Bukele, who is the president of El Salvador, put this up. He said today, the first 238 members of the Venezuelan criminal organization Tren de Agua arrived in our country. They were immediately transferred to CICOT, which is the Terrorism Confinement Center, for a period of 1 year. That's renewable. The United States will pay a very low fee for them, but a very high one for us. And over time, these actions, combined with the production already being generated by more than 40,000 inmates engaged in various workshops. That's what they call them, Jeff. Workshops. They're in workshops every day.
They're in workshops. Yeah.
And labor under the Zero Idleness program will help make our prison system self-sustainable. As of today, it costs $200 million a year. On this occasion, the U.S. also sent us 23 MS-13 members wanted by Salvadorian justice, including 2 ringleaders. One of them is a member of the criminal organization's highest structure. This will help us finalize intelligence gathering and go after the lost remnants of MS-13, including its former and new members, money, weapons, drugs, hideouts, collaborators, and sponsors. And as always, we continue advancing in the fight of organized crime. But this time, we are also helping our allies, making our prison system self-sustainable and obtaining vital intelligence to make our country an even safer place, all in one single action. May God bless El Salvador, and may God bless the United States. And I'm going to play a video that Bukele posted right here. Here we go. They're there, taking them off the planes, taking the prisoners off to the detention center. They're not messing around, yeah. They don't mess around. Photographing them, taking them off the chains. Violent criminals, killers. They're going to put their head down, not to be photographed. Yep. Embarrassment. They basically pull their heads forward. They put them on camera, photograph them, then they process them. Watch how they process them, Jeff. Here come the buses rolling up to the prison. Take them out. Start shaving them down. Check out that. Look at that entourage. 238 of them. With his top MS-13 ringleaders that are wanted in El Salvador as well.
We're going to keep getting them at this point. That thing looks like a sci-fi movie, I'll tell you what.
This is not a prison you want to be part of right here. As they start loading them in. There's the purple walk right there. Take them down, they shave them right down, process them all.
César Eliseo Sortomala.
Not anymore.
Yeah, you don't have a name, you have a number from now on. The fact that Bukele's even doing this is insane.
Mike's talking about that documentary on Netflix. I think that was a crazy documentary.
Yeah, so there they go. Boom, into the prison. That's it. Hard labor, man.
That's it.
All them
Yeah.
workshops. Workshops.
Yep. Look at that. It's crazy.
But not messing around whatsoever. So I thought that was interesting. And then Nayib Bukele posted this. So the New York Post put a thing. The federal judge orders deportation flights carrying alleged Venezuelan gangbangers to return to U.S., blocks Trump from invoking Alien Enemies Act.
Yeah.
And Bukele said, oopsie, too late. They were already received, unloaded from the planes. Too bad. Now, what kind of a scumbag federal judge wants these killers, known killers, to be returned to the U.S.? This is when your politics has corrupted your brain absolutely. This is when your leftness has left the building. I mean, to be a federal judge and try to overrule the president to return, known killers, and how many people have they killed in the United States? It's incredible that you would even want to be a federal judge and even authorize this. Secretary Marco Rubio said, we've sent 2 dangerous top MS-13 leaders plus 21 of its most wanted back to face justice in El Salvador. Also, as promised by President of the United States, we sent over 250 alien members of the Tren de Agua, which El Salvador has agreed to hold in their very good jails at a very fair price. It will also save our taxpayer dollars. President Bukele, not only the strongest security leader in our region, but he's also a great friend of the U.S. Thank you. That was a nice thank you note that I thought from Rubio.
So Congressman Brandon Gill said, I'll be filing articles of impeachment against activist Judge James Bosberg this week. They're done.
They're done.
Every one of these judges that want to be activists, that are beholden to the leftist machine, they're done. Every last one of them is going to be removed. It's brilliant. They're not that we're not playing around anymore. Lloyd is saying I'm from LA, and that game came in quick and they were destructive. Understand the cartels work for the government, so maybe their jobs are complete. New pawns incoming, different government in place. They're dismantling all of those components that allowed for all of this destructive behavior, because it was all a money move. It was all about manipulating the flow of money. And so when you consider the manipulation of the flow of money into the hands of the Democrat machine or the Rhino machine, it was all the deep state agenda, right? So if you put it into the establishment, let's call it the establishment. The establishment, this is what they've been doing. We had another article here. A $250 million per year building sits empty. They've been paying $250 million. The guy who signs the lease on it apparently got like $9 million, for all the money. It's all just payback. Everything's payback. That's coming to an end. These people, how many more people are going to end up in jail in El Salvador? We have Guantanamo. Now we got El Salvador. Bukele, that guy, man, he's doing the world a service. That's for sure.
Yeah. And you tease this thing about Margaret Thatcher from the very beginning, but how prolific is this? Let's listen into Margaret Thatcher given this.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time, people hated Thatcher. They thought she was in the 1970s when Thatcher rose to power, she was firstly the first woman prime minister, but she was somebody that actually stood for something, right? And she got so much incoming, and she was around when Reagan was around. But she turned the Great Britain around from a poverty-stricken country going under, to coming back, and she brought it back. But she got so much flack for it. Churchill, same thing. It's amazing. These people that were wonder workers, miracle workers inside, and then meanwhile you have all these long line of people like Keir Starmer, who's just a complete asshat, dumber than dumb, responsible for all kinds of garbage. So it's just on its onset. But let's listen to what she has to say.
Yeah, we go.
Be returned. Those who are illegal immigrants will be returned, and it is customary international law for countries to receive their own immigrants back into their country. And if the right honourable gentleman is suggesting that we ever get to a position when you cannot return illegal immigrants to their country of origin, then he is proposing international chaos.
That's what they want. That's exactly right.
That's exactly what they want.
Yep. They want international chaos. The more chaos, the more hectic it is, the more control they have. Just like during our supervisor of election back in 2018, when people marched down there at night, day, and they were protesting, we almost had a Governor Gillum, but they were corrupting the system. They were making up fictitious votes because it was chaos. Everything that was going on in that building, she was then removed. The woman that was in charge. Yeah. But that's what they want. They love that type of, stuff going on because it's easier to corrupt.
It's amazing. And what drives me crazy is, like, you see the morning shows come on Sunday mornings here in the US. It's all the Sunday talk shows, which are really politics based. And so you have like a lot of people from the administration on, but it's all propaganda, most of it. It's all leftist, mainstream media. But here you have the Democrats doubling down on stupid. And I think it's glorious. And please keep it up until the midterms, because you're crushing it. You're crushing it. You're going to deliver a massive blow. But just look at the senselessness of this clip right here.
NBC News poll, as you just saw, shows the Democratic Party at an all-time low approval rating. Why do you think Democrats are failing to connect with Americans at this critical moment of urgency, which you just...
Good question, right, Jeff? Like, so please, oh wise one, please shine the light on why they're connecting so badly. And this is where you see doubling down on stupid. Here it is. Thank God.
Describe.
Well, it's what I just talked about. I mean, I think Americans want the Democratic Party to stand up and fight and to take risks.
Oh, no.
Listen, I understand that had we gone into a shutdown, even for a handful of days, it would have been difficult. But it would have sent a message that the Democratic Party is not going to be bullied by Donald Trump. We are not going to let them write spending bills unilaterally that cut programs for people we care about, that give the president new and extraordinary power. I think Democrats in this country, but I think the broad middle of the public as well, want to see our party fighting in exceptional ways. That is the conversation that has to happen inside of the Democratic Party, inside our caucus. And if we don't get that right, if we continue to work with Republicans, if we continue to hand Donald Trump more power, we are going to lose our democracy.
I knew it.
Our new NBC.
Jeff, they're going to lose. This is it. They lose the democracy. I mean, can you believe doubling down on stupid? I mean, given all we know, what are we going to do? They want them to fight. You got a 9% approval rating.
Right.
Fighting is not the way. Self-reflection would be more important at this point than fighting, right? Because the fighting obviously is not working. Now, I hope they keep it up, because I think it's brilliant. I think it'll be fantastic for the midterms.
It's great. It's great. They're Jeff, so bad. I
came across this piece. I just a random type of piece, and this spoke so well to me here. But this woman is so on the inside of what's up with liberals. Listen to this clip here.
The Western liberal mind conceives of itself as being good because it's liberal. The Western liberal tells him or herself, I'm a good person because I'm liberal, and I'm liberal because I'm a good person, which means that I believe in things like the brotherhood of man, conscience and compassion, looking after the wretched of the world, the poor and the wretched of the world, standing up against abuses of power. These are all good things, and that's why I'm a liberal. And I'm a liberal because of all these good things. So, one of the expressions of my goodness and my liberalism is that I support the Palestinian Arabs, who I think are an oppressed people, and they are oppressed by the Israelis, who have taken their land away from them, and they are oppressing them. Now, every part of that, in my view, is a lie. But put that to one side. This is what the liberal progressive thinks. And the liberal progressive thinks that supporting the Palestinians is therefore something that makes the liberal progressive a good person. October 7 happened, and suddenly you have a situation in which the people that the liberal progressive has supported as being oppressed, and everything they do is a legitimate defense or resistance against oppression, suddenly we can see that those people have turned into the most bloodthirsty savages that could ever be imagined. Not just people who kill, but who slaughter in a sadistic, barbaric, debauched and depraved fashion that people can't imagine ever happening. They have slaughtered, raped, beheaded, tortured, burned alive babies, children, women, elderly men and others, and in which the people that they have supported as being oppressed and good people because they're victims are these savages. And the people they have represented as oppressors are the victims. They can't have that. Because if they have that, if they admit that that is the case, then their entire worldview is shattered, because the people, you know, the cause they have supported as representing goodness is shown to be evil. And what does that make them? It makes them evil. So they can't have it. So what do? They go to extraordinary lengths to pretend that black is white, that justice is injustice, that oppression is resistance, and vice versa. So they have to represent the Israelis as being at fault. The Israelis are to blame for what's happened. So there is no better way of blaming people than accusing them of the very thing they are the victim of.
Projection.
So you accuse them of genocide. We hear it also regularly. The Israelis are accused of being Nazis. It's the same thing. It's not simply an offensive thing. It's a very deliberate thing, because if the Israelis are Nazis, then we are free. We, the liberal West, are free of any kind of guilt or any kind of association with bad things, because they are to blame. They are the people who are bad. And so we are free to continue with our fantasies of us being good people. And I think that's also what lay behind these amazing scenes that we saw on social media of people with their hands tearing down the posters of the hostages. Now you have to ask yourself, what's going through the mind of someone like that? These weren't posters advertising Israel. They weren't advertising the Israeli Defense Forces. They were pictures of babies, of children, of women who had been kidnapped by bloodthirsty monsters, by savage, depraved savages, and were being almost certainly subjected to untold horrors. And yet they were torn down, and the faces of the people tearing them down were contorted very often with rage and hate. And you have to ask yourself, what's going on in the mind of that person? And it seemed to me that they had to literally with their fingernails tear it out of sight. It was something that could not be tolerated to be in existence at all. The very concept of the Israeli babies and children as victims of the people they had been supporting, because it contradicted the narrative on which they had hung their own moral worth. And it seemed to me also they were tearing the Jews out, trying to tear the Jewish people completely out of their world, out of their sight, out of their world, out of their minds, out of their thoughts, and out of their consciences. That's to me what it represented. And this whole inversion of genocide thing is part of that. It is not just disgusting. It is not just ridiculous. It's evil. And I think it is a symptom of the evil paths into which the West has fallen through its embrace of a whole range of ideologies, a whole range of thinking, which I think has come to define what we call the liberal progressive West.
It's pretty well succinctly said, Jeff. Thoughts on that?
And, you know, she uses a real day event that's taking place and unfolding, and you see how people respond to it. Unfortunately, you know, we see some of that wokeism on the right that's taking place right now as well. But
wait, wokeism on the right? Wait,
you have wokeism, this quote unquote wokeism, you know, taking a part of what we're listening to, and you can apply it as somewhat on the right, because they're also adhering to some of the stereotypic things, you know, that have taken place, whether it's through misinformation or libertarianism or however it's being applied to the space. But you know, what she was talking about is that you have, you know, this meltdown within the Democrat Party where they've adhered to certain principles that now they, you know, Like, I mean, it was just so well said. But we've been talking about this whole thing and this whole narrative. Look at how they allow, like with the BLM and Antifa parading in the streets and burning things down. And they've gone so far over to this socialist narrative of the, the fragmentation of civil society, that they no longer agree with that civil society. And then they have to explain their rationale and then their hatred. And they do have, they're vile. And the amount of hate that they have bottled up inside of them is staggering, to see exactly, what they're capable of. But that's how it all begins. And then they start dehumanizing. They dehumanized conservatives. They dehumanized anyone who supported Trump, the Trumpers. They dehumanize MAGA. They broke it down to such a component. The rhinos are caught up in that. The Democrats were caught up in that. Not all Democrats, because the ones that pulled it to the left, because the others, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, Fetterman, and the list. There's a long list of them that are ostracized and kind of pushed out from that group. The congressman in New York, that's always extremely outspoken, and I find it difficult to see why they can still balance, because the rest of those, they've hijacked the Democrat Party, is what I think. I mean, at the end of the day, we have a two-party political system. You have Republican, Democrat. The Republican Party was hijacked by the rhinos, and they moved us so far off of the constitutional conservatism to the establishment. The Democrats pulled us outside of the establishment altogether. I don't know where they pulled us. They pulled us into insanity of socialism, and and then all this stuff they start cramming down people's throats, through this crazy society that they decide they wanted to build. And it's unbelievable. So we're beyond that now. We're making good progress. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think she taps into one. I mean, she puts it with one event, but I think the deeper message she was getting at, which is like, inherently thinking that it's a person that wants to fight for injustice. That's the liberal mindset in itself. Like, I am the one who stands up for the little guy, and then missing all of the things that are happening in between, and then being somebody that's going to go key cars, like, because you don't like this hatred for Elon Musk, you're going to go key somebody's personal vehicle because they happen to have purchased a Tesla. You're going to key it in a driveway. You're going to throw Molotov cocktails at it. Like, this whole thing, like, where does the rage come from? And have you lost, losing sight of what you're actually fighting for becomes this like underground sort of driving religion that you really don't even know where all the angst and upset's coming from. Right. And when so much stuff has happened, you can get mad at Elon, but he's the one guy who's saving, who's trying to do his best to be able to cut the waste. But you look at someone like McMahon, who took over the Department of Education, fired 50% of the people, not a word. It's like 50% of the people are gone. Pete Hegseth, massive amount of turnover, like getting rid of people, like nonstop. Everybody in the department has been doing this, but why they single out Musk? He was the darling, right? He was, because when he was a Democrat, he was the darling. Oh, we're going to buy Teslas. And something's askew when you got Mark Kelly, who's a senator, a former astronaut, is grandstanding on video talking about giving up his Tesla. He's selling his Tesla. He's going to go buy a Chevy because it's made in the U.S. Well, Teslas are all made in the U.S. The most made car in the United States is a Tesla, more so than any other car, because they get parts from other countries. Everything is made 100% exclusively for Teslas. Of course, they make them in Germany. They make them over in China as well. But the point is, like, here's guy Mark Kelly, who was a former astronaut. Meanwhile, who just sent up a crew to go rescue the astronauts that have been stranded there for 7 months? And the reason that the previous administration didn't do it, and the reason that that Biden didn't do it, because he thought it would look bad against Kamala if somebody who's a Trump supporter goes and rescues the astronauts. This is how partisan and how pathetic it's become. So he sends a crew up there. You saw the video. They're all, happy that the new 4 crew comes in. They're going to bring them home. These are heroes. They've been up there for forever and a day. You want to talk about American ingenuity, a guy who launches a rocket and then brings the booster back down, and this thing's massive. It's like 13 stories tall, and it gets caught and it's ready to reuse. And this is the guy that they're going to hate on. Like, they've lost sight of everything altogether. It's insane. And I had like 2 more videos that I wanted to play. One of them here, this one caught me by surprise, but this apparently, did you know that Zelensky had a house in Florida?
I did not.
Well, here it is,
I
Jeff.
saw that. So
check it out.
The house of Ukrainian President Zelensky. The mansion is worth $20 million, located in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida.
Nice house.
This is a 4-car garage. A staircase leads to a small fountain. Beautifully designed courtyard. The roof is hedge red. Extra large terrace on the 2nd floor. Circular bedroom. Wooden walkway to the beach. Outdoor lounge area. Pool with spa.
Music.
I mean, yeah, music's going to get us in trouble.
Yeah. Yep.
Damn, music's going to get us in trouble again. Holy cow. But anyway, you sort of get the idea. And if you've seen what's been taking place in Canada, here's Pierre Poilievre. He's been hammering Mark Carney. Mark Carney, who's the new Prime Minister of Canada, who hasn't lived there in 10 years, who is the former central bank. He ran the Bank of England, central banker. He moved his offices from Canada to New York. This is a guy that's Prime Minister, moved his personal offices to New York City. But this is Pierre Poilievre taking a page out of Trump's playbook. This is actually a page right here that no Apple, but here it is. And I think he's got the right messaging here. This is amazing.
Be a self-reliant, sovereign country that stands on its 2 feet. We will reward work, unleash entrepreneurs, harvest our resources, make our own goods, trade with each other, build homes for our youth, rebuild our borders and military, honor our history, and raise our flag. What binds us together is the Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can do anything, that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful house on a safe street, wrapped in the protective arms of a solid border defended by brave soldiers under a proud flag. To preserve that flag and its promise, we must work together, fight together, and win together. That is what it means to put Canada first.
What do you think of that ad?
Make America great. Make Canada great again.
Right? I mean, it really does hit all. I mean, he talks about the promise of, having a great life, hard work. It's very similar to the American dream, right? Hard work, an honest day's work, that you can do and achieve anything. And so I like the fact that it's like this Canada first message, and it's completely contrary to everything else. Well, I don't think they necessarily sound like Trump. Look, he's putting his country first. This is Canada first, right? This is what it means to be Canada first. However, that's right. Constitution's key, right? So the Constitution is a big thing, and all these parliamentary systems and these communist sort of systems are going to have some issues in the end. But and again, they don't have a constitution. They don't have a constitution like the United States. They do have one, but it's not similar to the United States. It's not a republic. It's not a constitutional republic. It's a a typical a disaster. Well said. A parliamentary system, which is a disaster. And it's funny, Jeff. It's like we're coming up on 250 years founding as a nation, and no one thought like, geez, why don't we write a constitution for our country written by the people and limiting the government power? Nah. We'll just go with the parliamentary system. Nah, we'll just stay with the monarchy. Like 250 years have passed, and now one country gets the idea of like, that's not a bad idea. Maybe we should become a republic. Maybe we should be grounded in our constitution that limits the power of our government written by the people. Nah, that's stupid. Not one, 250 years, and not
doesn't
one
work so
country,
well.
not one taker, Jeff.
No,
Thought
that
it'd be a
doesn't
good
work
idea.
so well.
Unbelievable.
No one ever profited from that.
Look at this. Pierre would make a great American. I love Pierre Poilievre. I love the dude, man. I really do. I just love. I can't listen to him enough. I think he's a very effective politician. And if he can't win in Canada, man, I'm sorry. There's just, I don't know what to say. I mean, there's just not a lot of hope. I mean, he's a good dude. He has his head, screwed on, straight. He knows what he has to do. He wants to make the country a phenomenal country, right? I mean, and will he get a chance to do it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't at this point. It's good to see, though. Right? Right on. It's good to see, man. It's good to see. And people say, like, well, he's still like Trump. No, he's putting his country first. He's talking about what makes Canada great. He's talking about the great people of Canada. There's 40 million people that make this country work. It's a vast lot of land for the amount of people that live there. And they got a pretty strong GDP. They're a fighting people. They're a caring people. They got a long history. And it's like, for them to want to succeed, it's time to pull together, man. It's time to pull together and watch the Canadians succeed, because they're strong people. They're a great neighbor. And nobody likes what's going on with this tariff stuff, and that'll fall by the wayside. But we want Mexico to be a great, strong country. We certainly want Canada to be a great, strong country. Our border, countries, but also our friends, and in North America. It just bodes well for all of us if we can win together. So right. I'd love to see what's happening with Pierre Poilievre. I love the guy. He's sort of like, 51st state. I don't think they'll ever join. I just don't think it's going to be. America makes Canada great. There's some truth to that. There's some rub off, but there's a lot of things that are uniquely Canadian. By the way, Jeff, I got to tell you that today, there's this one maple syrup that I buy that's aged in bourbon barrels.
Mm-hmm.
That is the best maple syrup I've ever had, man. It's like the greatest thing. And I've tried all the different maple syrups. It comes from Canada. And I also mixed in a little bit of my, I took a little bit of that syrup with a little bit of this, I get this stuff out of Atlanta, which is it's a mixer for bourbons, for an old fashioned, but it has like coffee and some other stuff. And so I put a couple dabs of that in this maple syrup on some gluten-free pancakes. Holy cow, man. It's a whole experience, man. Delicious, man.
All right.
Let's see if we can find that.
Where are we at? Kerry Lake.
Kerry Lake, I had that. Oh crap! Let's see. I was trying to pull up this. Here it is, Crown Mate. This is it right here. I was trying to find the this amazing bourbon. This is it right here. Here it is right here. It's the bourbon barrel aged maple syrup, which is phenomenal right here. There it is. It's called Crown Maple Syrup, bourbon barrel aged. Even looks like a bourbon. It looks like a bourbon bottle. Have you ever had this Crown stuff?
I've never had that. Is that Crown Royal?
No, it's just Crown is the name of the company, but it's a Canadian company.
Oh, it's not the typical Canadian Crown whiskey.
No, it's not. I don't think it's Crown whiskey. I think it's just Crown is the name of but they have a couple different ones, but I found this one to be the best, but this is good.
See.
You can buy it off of Amazon, but it's if you want it, it's got a great, dark, rich, beautiful flavor to it. Phenomenal, good stuff.
How they have another Crown, because they have Crown Royal, and now they have another Crown. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that's I don't know. I bought it and then the store that I bought it from never carried it again, so I ended up finding it up on Amazon, which is just phenomenal.
Listen, I'm in for Crown Maple Syrup. That'd be awesome. It's a bourbon maple.
Yeah, so here it is. Right here. I'll throw this in the. But you can also buy it on Amazon too. But I'll throw that in there. But
what is that per bottle? What does that say?
This is $20. I bought it for 24 for a big bottle. I bought it for 20, big huge bottle. I mean, maple syrup's expensive, and I bought a pretty sizable bottle. That's 12 ounces. I think I got a 22-ounce bottle.
Mike said that'd go good with Yeti coffee. That's right. With the badass.
Oh yeah, it would go good, man. But yeah, so they have maples. They have all kinds of maple syrup. They have a couple different ones. They have applewood smoked. They got the bourbon barrel. They got the cinnamon infused, Madagascar vanilla, all kinds of stuff. But that's what they basically deal with. But yeah, there it is right there. Crown maple, baby.
Crown maple.
They have an applewood smoked. That's pretty good too. I've had that one too, but nothing's better than the bourbon barrel, man. Just fantastic. All right, let's pick that Yeti, baby. You ready to get that Yeti? We got 22 entered.
Hang on, before we do that, let me throw in the commercial so people know what to do. I made an edit to it while we went.
Good.
So
Fantastic.
Here we go. You ready?
What's the word of the day? Yeti. Boom. Pictures on my wall already, because this one's gonna be epic. Get ready to claim your own legendary blue giant Yeti of the clan, spirit walkers. His name is Goldfar. Let's go!
All right.
What was the edit? I missed the edit.
I put in his name was Skoldfar.
Oh, Skullfar. There you go.
I didn't see it. You didn't see the edit. Oh man.
No,
now
I
we
thought I
gotta
saw
play it
that.
again.
I thought I was in there last time, and I missed that. I don't know.
All right. No, this time it was good. Now we got to play it again. Can we fast forward? Let me see.
What's the word of the day? Yeti. Boom. Pictures on my wall already, because this one's gonna be epic. Get ready to claim your own legendary blue giant Yeti of the clan, spirit walkers. His name is Goldfar. Let's go!
His name is Skullsfar.
Skoldfar.
Skullsfar. All right. All right.
He has a name.
Syrup to be delivered tomorrow. Yes.
Look at that. That was quick.
Yeah. We need time for a badass Yeti maple syrup. Hell yeah.
I need the badass Yeti.
Bourbon bottles, man. I'll tell you what. God, is that phenomenal. Delish. All right, here we go. We're about ready to pull the trigger. We have 26 entered. Are you guys ready? Let's see who's going to win. You guys know the drill. I'm here. I'm grabbing my wallet. Here, let's go. Go. Boom. Jim D wins. Jim D winner.
No way.
Jim D winner. Chicken dinner. Jim D is the winner. A chicken dinner. Jim D, you there? Drum roll, please. Rigged. John says rigged.
Rigged.
How can it be rigged? I just pressed the button. There's no way that we can control it.
I don't know.
I have
don't
no
know.
way to control it, man.
Man, is John D still here? John D, Jim D.
John D, are you kidding me? Are you effing kidding me?
Where is he?
That's Jim, but
Jim D.
Rick.
Jim D. Jim D.
Jim, if you don't,
Yeah, I can't. It's amazing.
it's
Jim
fixed.
D is eating his maple syrup. Let me see. Jim D. Let's see.
Jim D does seem to win a lot, though.
It's been a while. He hasn't won in a while.
He hasn't won in a while, but and he's also given up. He's also passed them on to others too. So he has done that. Actually, this place is in Great Plains, New York.
Oh, Jim D. There he is. Give it to a nice lady. We do have his address saved, but if he's not here, but he is here. But if he wasn't here, it still has to go by the rules, you know. Lloyd closes the door, locks it. Jim's gone.
Roll the tape.
That's too funny.
Roll the tape. Baby.
Jim D said, "Give it to a nice lady." All right, you know what that means. We got to re-roll.
That means you have to re-roll.
It means you got to roll again.
Okay, here we go. Draw again. Here we go. Who's it going to win? Who's going to be? Where it stops, nobody knows. It's getting close to the edge. Lloyd Mitchell wins.
Lloyd Mitchell.
Lloyd
There you
Mitchell.
go. Look at
There
that.
you go. Boom. Look at that confetti.
Lloyd, you just won.
There you go.
Lloyd.
There you go.
Lloyd,
He
are
says,
you here?
kudos, Jim. He's thanking Jim.
Yeah.
Sure is thanking Jim.
Look at that.
All right, Lloyd, you're the big winner. Look at that.
Lloyd.
Thanks to Jim D and giving it up. A nice young lady named Lloyd Mitchell won.
His name must have a great algorithm. That
Yeah,
could
I don't
be.
know.
Jim D might have a good algorithm within.
I could just see
I don't know how
that
that works, but
cool robot face replaced by Skuldsvar, or
That's
whatever the
right.
hell his name is.
and Lloyd never gets the live. So here he is on the live and the win.
All right, there you go, dude. Thanks to Jim D. Nice. What's your wallet, baby?
Now we just need your wallet address. Throw that bad boy in there.
Wait,
Your
I'm not
Zahman
ready.
wallet.
Thanks, Jim.
It's fixed.
It's always gonna be fixed until Joe wins. I'll be like, "Oh, it's fixed." No, it's not. It was like pure luck. Damn, son. Damn.
I gotta document this. Hello. Yeah, we're wrapping up.
Man,
You need what?
I gotta go. I got an early flight in the morning,
You
Jeff.
made something?
Yeah.
Oh, what'd you make?
I was gonna ask you to look at it.
Oh, the light's reflecting off you. Look, we got to wrap up. We're just about to end. So let's end. Let me end. Okay. Okay. And then I'll see what you made. What did you make? Oh, you did a business outline? Okay, sweet. Oh, you did the slideshow? Okay. All right.
All right,
A
man.
deck? A deck? Look at that. Made a deck. Doing a business
We need your
presentation.
wallet. We need your wallet, man.
I got to go into the regular YouTube. All right, here we go. Going to the YouTube. Man, I wish I could just go onto the regular one. Just get it right on the StreamYard. Said I gotta go. There it is. I got it. I see it. Hang on.
It's there.
Seconds.
It wasn't showing up in here, but it's there.
I see it over there.
Price prediction: 60 cents. I didn't say what year or what time frame. There you go. That's your price prediction.
Price prediction for what?
All right.
Price of soil.
Chad says pass the deck for the group to edit. We're gonna
Yeah.
workshop it. We're gonna workshop it.
We should. So that's my son put his business presentation together. He's working on a project. And so we should workshop it. We'll bring it in here and we'll make sure it gets the win.
You guys have a good week.
Oh wait, I gotta go into the Zahman. I'm opening up the wrong wallet. Going into the Zahman. Here we go. I'm getting ready to transfer this bad boy. Slide to accept. Sending. Verifying. Done. Submitted successfully. Lloyd is now the proud owner of Skull Bar.
Beautiful.
Skull Bar. Number
Skull Bar.
521
Gotta love it, man.
of the Spirit Walker.
All right. Well, that's it, guys. We are out of here. We guys will see you. Well, Jeff will see you Wednesday night. I will be in transit, and I will be back on Saturday morning. So Jeff will be doing solo on Wednesday, bringing you another phenomenal banger show. Did he get it? I think he got it right.
Look, yeah, I'm sure. Well, it went. Whatever address we took that you sent is now on its way.
Beautiful, man. All right.
Oh,
that's all we know, guys.
Oh, see that? Make sure you collect it.
Sweet. Awesome. Love to see that.
That's so great.
And maybe,
just
maybe next time we see you in the chat, we'll see, instead of that cool robot face, we'll see Skullstar, whatever the hell his name is. Skullstar. I don't know what his name is. So we'll see that for sure. All right, guys. We'll see you guys in the next one. Chip and Jeff out. Have a great week, guys. Talk soon. Cheers.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.